Hey, it's Kevin with the New Warehouse Podcast, bringing you a new episode today. And on today's episode, I am going to be joined by Guy Yehiav, who is the president at SmartSense by Digi. And we're going to talk a little bit about what they're doing in terms of increasing visibility within the supply chain space and logistics world in particular. We're also going to learn a little bit about what micro visibility is. I'm not sure what that is, so we're gonna learn something today for sure from Guy, and we're also going to talk a little bit about how that's being used around cargo theft and what's happening in cargo theft right now, and some of the benefits of implementing IoT technologies within your supply chain and how that can have some positive impacts for you. So, Guy, welcome to the show. How are you?
Amazing. Hey, thanks for having me, Kevin. Great to be here. And by the way, it's not how to use it for cargo theft, it's how to prevent
Sure.
cargo theft.
Sure. Yes, this is not a tip podcast for cargo criminals out there. So just let's clarify that up front, right? So if you're listening and you were planning on doing some cargo theft, we're actually going to talk about how to make sure you can't do that cargo theft, right? So very good to make that clarification. Appreciate that, guy. So good to get you on the show here and talk about these topics. So let's start off. Tell us a little bit about SmartSense by Digi. What is that, and what do you all do?
Absolutely. So, Digi International is a publicly held company, incorporated in 1985, went public 1989.
Hmm.
SmartSense is one of the companies that runs by the conglomerate Digi International. And so, my team and myself are running SmartSense, kind of almost as a standalone, but leveraging the scale of Digi, leveraging the technology of connectivity. Digi is one of the well-known IoT connectivity type company, and so we're leveraging all the knowledge from Digi, which is fun. Um, SmartSense is a well-known condition monitoring solution for many years, from 2015 and even beyond that. Um, and so we serve the verticals of pharmaceutical manufacturing, retail pharma, healthcare, hospitals, as well as food manufacturers, groceries, restaurants, catering, K to 12, and higher education. If you think about a vertical where you need um, detailed condition monitoring in order to um, prevent any contamination, right, and save lives actually. So that's what we're well known for. In the last 18 months, we start serving also movable assets, and so not just stationary type assets like operating room pressure differential or like refrigerations and process of food flows. But besides that, we also move now to track and trailers on the move. So both any transportations as well as warehousing from a slotting perspective, picking, shipping, all the way kind of end to end, if you will.
Hmm. Interesting, and I guess so. Within that includes basically the hardware to do that, and then I guess also the software. You provide both of those, right?
We provide both. We
Hmm.
are amazing at producing IoT sensors of all kind. However, when I took the reign about 4 years ago, part of the challenge was how can we continue to grow it a double digit? And the idea behind it was, listen, IoT is so fragmented, the market,
Mm.
that after discussing it with my management team, we decided to create some co-opetition. And
Mm.
it's a word I learned at the MBA, but it's in working in theory as in practice. And the idea is to resell even our competitors, be able to integrate with our competitors. And the thinking behind it is, if a company already invested in sensors and they already have sensors, for example, pressure differentials or temperature, humidity, you don't want to force their hand to buy ours, even
Mm.
though ours is better for sure. But we can work with others as well if they're certified on our platform, so we can become the backbone for IoT. And therefore, you don't need to go and replace all of your sensors. We can work with them. And then later on, when you need new sensors, you can buy it either from us or from any of our certified competitors.
Got it. Interesting. Interesting. And I think that's very interesting to hear because I think that there's a lot of like synergies there. I imagine, even though you said in some instances like, oh, it's competitor, but we can also figure out a way to coexist in the market, which is an interesting strategy approach. So good to hear that. And obviously, a lot of the discussion around these sensors and IoT and things like that, and especially in the logistics and supply chain world, is all about this buzzword that we've heard for a couple of years now is visibility, right? So tell us, I guess, from your perspective and SmartSense's perspective, like why is visibility such an important thing within the logistics world in particular?
It's I would say it's even more than visibility. So if you take the last 2 decades and you put them on an X, uh, late 90s, beginning 2000 was where the ERP and the supply chain application came to market more and more. And that's where a lot of data has been created. Um, Still, even today, I think that there's a lot of warehouses that are using pen and paper, but less and less, right? So the digitalization era, if you will, was on the early 2000 to early 2010, if you will, the teens type years. And with all of this data, it was lacking visibility. And so a lot of reports came by. Well, reports is one type of visibility. But what we find out is that if I'll share with you an Excel spreadsheet and I'll share it with 5 others, people would take different takeaways from those spreadsheets because people read numbers differently.
Yeah.
And so we tend to just create a prescriptive analytics, we call it, which means once you find that something going sideways, condition monitoring, a trip, a certain route of a trip was supposed to go from A to B and it stopped at C for 5 minutes for some reason. We'll talk about those reasons later. But let's say that there's an exception, right? An excursion. Well, when you send the excursion, don't just send a bunch of report or X's on a map. Send actually what you actually found. So hey, there was route number 123 from DC of company Acme A to a warehouse of retailer B, and it stopped on the way at a large parking lot with great, amazing toilets, but 20 more minutes than approved. And there's a suspicious there. Click here to see more, and then you click on it, and then you see, and then it actually provide you the SOPs. What do you need to do? Do you need to call? If it's your truck, you have actually a phone number and a truck driver. If it's a 3PL, maybe you need to call the dispatcher, or maybe you need to send an alert, or maybe you need to, what is the SOP that you need to do? And we're already there today. The idea is that once you load all of those SOPs and the root cause, a Gen AI engine can then prescribe to you what you need to do based on all the thousands of events that happened in the past and root cause of that. So that's the kind of that's where the next step is coming up to market. We already actually demoed it at the last user conference we had in Nashville in October. We call it Kai, which is knowledgeable AI. And so just like Siri and others, we have our own, and ours is called Kai.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, and I like that, taking it to the kind of next level, right? It's like okay, I see this, but then like, what's the next step? What do I do, right? So incorporating those SOPs and everything in there, like you said, I mean, that makes a lot of sense, definitely. Now tell us a little bit about this term micro visibility, because I saw this in some of the materials from you all, and I have to say that's not a term that I've heard before. So tell us what is micro visibility.
Yeah, great question. So our customers asked us to start monitoring movable assets. It was not just, hey, we can do more things, because if you can do more things, then go build a new company and do more things. But our customers ask us to continue and evolve our solution and actually create even a revolution, not just an evolution, to help them with a black box that they have. And the black box that they have was, when I ship my cancer treatment to 100 clinics, the clinics sometimes claim that they never got it, or they got it with a wrong temperature, or there was excursion, or the medicine is bad and the medicine cost me $10,000. And it's not just the dollars, it's actually people that we need to treat and save lives. And if the inventory is not reaching the clinics at the right time with the right condition and the right shape, then actually lives are at risk. And so they said, listen, it's a black box. It's a 3PL. We ship it. They do give us tracking capabilities, but it's delayed. It's not in real time. And when they tell us that there was an excursion, is after the fact. So what they typically do in 3PL and warehouse management is that you throw in kind of a data logger, a temperature monitoring solution that has a small microchip and hardware on it, just like a disc-on key or USB, if you remember those. And it traces every 10 minutes or every minute or every 5 minutes, and it takes the temperature and it logs it in. And then when you get the container, it asks you, hey, please take that USB stick and put it in your application so it will consume all the data. And guess what happened? It tells you, hey, there was an excursion for an hour and a half. Please don't use that medicine. What good does it do? It does good, because then if the medicine is negative, you don't impact anyone on the negative side, but you cannot treat the people that you needed to treat. And so with this gap, they said, hey, can you actually give us information in real time, tell us where it is, and tell us what to do to prevent that failure from happening? And that's the micro visibility that we talked about. So what it is that as soon as there's an excursion of temperature, right, that puts the product and the inventory at risk based on the condition that it should be treated at, it triggered an alert that goes through SMS, email, phone call, whatever you need, based on a hierarchy of alerts. And it tells you, hey, Joanna, your truck driver, Sam, it's Samantha, she's in Texas right now. It's August, and the reefer is off probably, or something is going on where the temperature is on the verge of being excurred too long. Please give her a call, ask her why the reefer is off, and maybe she doesn't know, she didn't follow through, and she just need to turn it back on. And then you see Sam actually stop by the side of the road, restart the reefer, and temperature is back on track. The clinic will receive the product the following day, and everyone is very happy. In order to do something like that, you need the micro visibility of not just the temperature and not just the real-time location services, but a combination of all of those to know where is the package existing currently. Once we deliver that capabilities, and actually it was at NRF a year ago, which is the largest retail conference in New York City, a lot of companies and network that is part of my old network, because I used to serve the loss prevention industry before. And they asked me, hey, you know what? They said, if you have a micro visibility of where is my case, would you be able to tell me that the truck is going one way and the case is going another way, and there's a separation, and create a massive alert for me that I could actually send now to a third-party police agent, FBI, whatever it is, based on where it is and what is the product. And then can you help us prevent cargo theft, which we can talk about what we found out through that as well. But that was the kind of the storytelling that we were asked by pharmaceutical and healthcare provider to create micro visibility of temperature and location services to prevent any failure of shipment. And then it turns also to support other verticals, both food. I mean, on the food side, think about the following scenario, right? You have a large grocer, and you see that a meat pallet is about to arrive to a store, and it's 10:20. Well, the invoice and the bill of labor and all of the flow, the truck was supposed to be there at 12. But hey, surprise, surprise, it's early. Well, if you drop the meat pallet at the dock and it will sit there for an hour, it's pretty bad, specifically if it's in Texas in
Yeah.
the summer, right? And so the idea also behind it is to tell the people at the warehouse or the people at the store where it arrives to, hey, in 20 minutes, the meat pallet is here. I know it's early or I know it's late, but here it is. Be ready. 20 minutes, it will be there. Please finish what you're doing currently and go treat the meat pallet with a requirement on the temperature and put in the walk-in, et cetera, et cetera. So it served all the facet of the vertical that we already served before,
Right.
but with volume 11, much more detail, much better capabilities. And again, both saving on minimizing waste, as well as saving on health of people, because we will cater products, both medicine, vaccine, as well as food that was in the right condition all along.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, and I love that, and I love the use case too of Samantha with her reefer, right? I mean, I think that makes a lot of sense because it's kind of like, you get visibility, you see the truck is moving right along to its destination, but then how do you pair that up with knowing that, I guess instead of waiting until that truck shows up to know that, oh, the reefer was not on, right, or something went wrong with the reefer and now you've lost it. It's like you're actually mitigating that risk a little bit more, and you're able to prevent the waste of that, as you said. So very interesting there, and obviously, dependent on the type of product or the industry you work in, like the level of visibility may be different that you want to achieve, right? So tell us a little bit about, like, how do you determine like that right type of visibility or the right level or extent of visibility that you should have within your supply chain?
Great question. So the sensor that we put into the solution is we call it the T sensor, transportation sensor.
Mm-hmm.
Very smart of us. And it's version 1, so it's T1 also,
Sure.
very advanced. But we do have two types. We have T1R, which is a rechargeable one, and we have T1 that is disposable. What we are working on also is optimize the T1 disposable for a longevity perspective. Now, if you're trying to use it for 3-meter accuracy, so 4 satellite connection lock on the GPS, as well as the temperature, as well as the light, as well as all of the sensors, it will be good to about 2,000 transmitter. 2,000 transmittal means what? If you want it every 5 minutes, it will be 10,000 minutes that it will leave, and then you need to dispose it, right? Well, is that enough or not? Well, it depends what the scenario, exactly as you just said. If the scenario is, hey, I don't need a 3-meter accuracy, I just need to know if it's on the move or not, well, we can just triangulate the cellular towers, and then it's about 1,000 feet accuracy, which then we also found that, hey, when it's even arriving at the warehouse, you're not sure if it arrived to the warehouse yet or not because you're not that accurate. You're in 1,000 feet radius around it. And so it also depends. What's the accuracy that you need? What's the action that you will need? And based on that, what's the accuracy that you need? Another example was, so what we talked about is all the different facets of verticals. If you're looking at high-end luxury items and you're trying to create or you cater to loss prevention to minimize any cargo theft, well, would you react in the same second that you will know that a case is going one way and the truck is going another way? If you have a plan and you have an SOP that you will be able to react such a way, then yes, it's worth it. Let's just do it. 3-meter accuracy, immediate, based on gyro, immediately when it stopped moving, know that it stopped. Immediately when it stopped moving, know that it stopped. Immediately when you see a change in light, right? So all that is being done at the edge for the technologists that are listening, right? So you need a microprocessor at the edge of this credit card size tracker that will know that someone opened the door of the truck or the container or the box, and that's an event. And based on that event, you want to start now tracking stuff. Or you say, you know what? If I'm not moving, don't track anything, preserve the battery. Only when I start moving, then start the GPS. If it's multi-stop 3PL, you can also do only when you have a movement after a light excursion, start looking at it. If so the longevity of the tracker is longer. And therefore you could configure the sensor, the T sensor, with edge capabilities based on the scenario that you're trying to identify, and therefore the longevity is maximized. Why do we have the rechargeable? Well, if you're sending it within your network, because obviously if you're sending it to a consumer or to a clinic, you don't want them to ship it back to you, because that's incur a friction. Hey, if you don't ship it to me, I need to charge you more money or whatever. It's a friction that you're trying to minimize. And so on the disposable one, you want to maximize the longevity. And if it's within the network, you can do the T1R. And so, for example, a very Luxottica presented with me last year at the NRF, the multi-track capability visibility on micro visibility that we just discussed for Oakley that they did. So Oakley, as you know, is a high-end luxury fashion as well as glasses, and they track it all the way from China on the manufacturing side, making sure that it doesn't have any diversion into a Me Too type production site. It goes directly to the ocean freight. From the ocean freight to Portland, from Portland down to Tijuana for repackaging in Mexico, then up on the truck to Atlanta, then from Atlanta in the air all the way to Italy in Milan at headquarters, and then down through all the way throughout Europe. And so in order to do that, they use the T1R because at any given time, they can actually then repurpose the tracker, recharge it, and put it back in the case. And that's available, by the way. If you want, I can send you the link. You can review it. Some really, really cool insights that they had from it.
Yeah, interesting. So it sounds like, I mean, there's varying degrees, right, of this visibility and other factors too to consider, like the disposable versus rechargeable, and I guess that kind of chain of custody or lack of chain of custody if you don't want to create that friction point, like you said, which is a really great point to consider as well. So now let's talk a little bit about, because a lot of the visibility, right, is trying to help in protecting those goods throughout the supply chain as they're moving throughout, right? And you mentioned the use case there where the truck is going this way and all of a sudden the carton is going the opposite way, right? And like what's happening there, right? So cargo theft obviously is something that's been a huge topic within supply chain for the last few years, and seems like it's kind of continuing to rise. And I think most recently, if I think about Guy Fieri, another guy, like Guy Fieri got all his tequila stolen, right? And that was like a big deal because it's Guy Fieri, but that's happening all the time, right? It's not just celebrity chef spirits, right, that are getting stolen. So tell us a little bit about kind of what is going on with cargo theft right now. Is it continuing to rise? Is it getting any better? What does that look like from the supply chain perspective?
So when you look at the trend of fraudulent type trend on loss prevention or organized retail crime or overall organized crime for supply chain as well, it is on the rise, and it's going backwards in the supply chain because there's more and more technology that helps prevent organized retail crime to do their job at the stores. So at the stores today, the only leak is like eaches. So people steal one or two items. They can conceal it. They can be, it could be a bad actor that also works at the retailer that helps. But those would probably be eaches lost. It's still lost because when you lose a product, you lose the whole margin plus the cost. So if it costs you X, and the margin is Y, and all of that is Z, you lose the whole Z. So in order to actually recoup it, you need to sell multiple items because the only profit that you're getting is the Y, right? So you need to sell actually 3-4 times more in order to recoup whatever was sold. But in supply chain, it's very, very much like cybersecurity. You're as strong as the last chain. And if you have a bad actor that works in 3PL or a truck driver or someone that tip the drivers in order to go to the restroom in specific parking spots and parking lots, or even stop in the middle of the desert. There's actually certain areas in the middle of the country that you and I never visited, that they stop to go out and just pee for 5 minutes. And guess what happened? A whole wall of the truck is being screwed out. So not, because on the door, you may have number of doors open, closed. But if you screw the doors out, the side out, you can actually take some inventory out, put the screws back up. The truck drivers come in, and the truck driver never knew that it was stolen. What happened through that is that number one, pressure in the containers changed, light typically changed, and movement is stop and then start moving again. And so when we put the tracker and when we design all of it, we created different excursions on luminance change. So it's not the light itself, it's the change of light. Because in a container, if it's not a reefer, you may still have light going through the screws, a little bit light, right? But when you open a wall or you open the door, a lot of light suddenly comes in. And so we looked at an excursion at the edge on light change rather than the luminate itself. So instead of having an excursion, if you get 10,000 luminate, now is excursion. Instead of that, we said actually any excursion of change of luminance will be enough to create an excursion for text and email message with a description of what is the change. Massive change, small change. Why? Because at night, even the star's light change the sensibility of the light of our sensor. So even if there's no actual light and you open the door, you will actually identify that. And so because of that bad actor, supply chain is still very, very fragile from an organized crime ability to penetrate supply chain. Both in a warehouse, by the way, as well as when the truck is moving. There's different when I speak with supply chain loss prevention executives, and by the way, in Columbus here, I'm going to meet someone else in that arena on the fashion side. They have different areas in the country that they ask the 3PL or their own trucks do not stop for about 100 to 150 miles in those areas. And so they have zip zone areas that they ask them not to stop. Now, if they load this information into our platform, so we put a round or square or whatever dimensions you need. And so if the truck is moving through those, it's all good. But if the truck suddenly stop, there's an excursion that says you should not stop. Based on our agreement, you should not stop here, right? And so there's different type of excursions. And supply chain is still very fragile. And when you can imagine that if you take a truckload, you open up the door, we're not talking about inches. We're not even talking about cases. We're talking about pallets that could take taken off. Now, if you take all the pallets, when the truck will arrive, they will immediately see that it's stolen. Right. The issue comes when you take one pallet or you take a few cases and no one noticed that it was actually, there was an excursion there. Now, what happened then is that we call it a bubble of air. You expected 12 cases and you only got 10. Who will notice that? No one. And at the end, this 10 bubble of air will come up to the store or to the clinic or to the end goal. And only then suddenly you say, oh, someone stole 2 cases at the store. They will not even identify that it was stolen way upstream through the supply chain. And therefore, when they will put when they will zoom in to actually magnify the area, they will magnify a wrong area. and you will not trace the root cause of where was it actually stolen.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's way too far away, or way too long at that point, right? To
Too long
connect
and
it.
too late.
Almost like a TV show, 48 Hours, right? You got 48 hours to find the perpetrator, right? And I think it's fascinating to hear, some of the lengths that these cargo thieves will go to. I mean, taking the wall off the trailer and to get to it. I mean, I think is pretty remarkable and incredible. But the technology that you're offering and these sensors, right? Sounds like it's a really great way to try and mitigate that and try and, at least, even if it happens, really pinpoint, understand where does it happen, and then ultimately collect that information to be able to pass it on to the proper authorities to address it and try and hopefully recover that material at some point. Because as you said, and I think that's a really interesting thing to point out, right, is when you have something stolen, it's not like it's one for one, right? It's you're losing the cost, the investment in that inventory, but also the potential revenue and profit that you're getting from that. So you have to sell X amount to even try and recoup from that loss, particularly. So really interesting to talk to you today, Guy, and learn about this and hear, go deeper on visibility and kind of what is even possible around visibility. Like, I mean, I certainly learned some things today that I didn't realize were that possible to get that far into the details and the kind of the weeds of the visibility and those little nuances to understand and see. So really interesting, the technology you're working on and bringing to the market. So really appreciate you coming on and speaking with us. If people want to learn more about SmartSense or dig deeper into what you're offering, what's the best way to do that?
Best way would be to go to smartsense.co. That's where our website, and ping us on any questions. When you mentioned the wall that they're going, the organized retail crime or the organized supply chain crime, if you
Sure.
will, when they go and they take the whole wall, they don't just do that. They also have different Geigers that they're looking for waves to find sensors. And so the way that we build the sensors on the edge is that it doesn't always transmit a signal. And so if they actually go and search for it, they will not find it because it's very random. And then if they actually pick it up and start taking it over, that's where we also say, hey, it's in the wrong direction. It's not on the route that was designed. Here I am, trace me. And when they put it back on the shelf, it will actually dormant and it will send us the last position. So if you go into a fencing of a warehouse of a stolen goods, we'll be able to give it to the FBI to go and raid it and find all the goods that were stolen.
Interesting. So the thieves are actually wised up to the sensors and have come up with a way to try and detect them in the first place. That's pretty interesting. That's the first time I've heard that, actually. So that's fascinating. Really interesting and really great to talk to you. And I think we could probably maybe do a future podcast all about the different ways that thieves are trying to break into things and steal cargo here. So really appreciate you coming on once again. And we'll definitely put all the information about SmartSense in the show notes, as well as at thenewwarehouse.com. So Guy, thank you once again for your time on the show today.
Hey, thanks for having me, Kevin.
Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning into today's video here on our YouTube channel, The New Warehouse Podcast, and I appreciate you tuning in. If you liked what you saw, make sure you subscribe to our channel, and if you like this video in particular, make sure you like it as well. And if you want to get this great t-shirt that you see in the video behind me, Warehouses Are Sexy, head to warehousesaresexy.com and get your own.